peace train.
Come on, come on, come on. Peace train.
Come on, join me. I'm jumping on the peace train. Come on, peace train.
Peace train.
There we go. Good morning, everyone. My name is Steph Tacey, and my co-worship associate, Libby Lamb, and I welcome each and every one of you to Heritage Universalist Unitarian Church this morning and to our worship service. We welcome all of you here in the sanctuary, everyone who is here with us via live stream, and to anyone who watches the recorded video at a future time. I have a couple of quick items of note. First, there will be a short meeting today after church for anyone who has questions about the women's retreat that happens next weekend. Our board greeter is Julie Kane, and if you have any questions, she will be happy to answer them and or give you a tour, and Julie is sitting right over there. And now, if you will silence, turn off, or place your electronic devices in airplane mode so they won't detract from today's worship experience or interfere with our bandwidth. We'd appreciate it. I hope everyone had a good week this week. However, know that even if your week hasn't been a pleasant one, our Lifespan Faith Development Director, Laci Adams, and some of our young people who participated in our first ever Heritage Summer Peace Camp hope to inspire you during today's service to explore new ways of cultivating that sometimes elusive peace we all seek for ourselves as individuals and as members of community. If you are a first-time visitor, I offer a special welcome to you and encourage you, along with everyone else, to open your heart and mind to all the possibilities before us. Let's take a moment to pause. Take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. And now our service begins with our peace campers lighting our chalice and the church bell being rung.
Good morning. Our call to worship day comes from Laci, the ancient Chinese philosopher who wrote the Tao Te Ching, considered the foundational text of Taoism. If there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. And if there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. And if there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. If there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. Our hope today with our service is to invite you into the experience of cultivating peace. So all throughout our service today, you will have moments and invitations into the experience that our peace campers had during their week of camp. It's obviously not the whole experience of being here all day long for an entire week, but it is certainly parts of the experiences that they had to reflect to you and in our community how we can cultivate peace. One of the things that we did during camp is we did singing, and the song that we sang and built upon and sang every day was I've Got Peace Like a River. And every day we added a verse. And so throughout today's service, we're going to be singing I've Got Peace Like a River, and we'll add verses or do different verses as we sing. So we're going to first sing today. If you will rise in body or spirit, we're going to sing I've Got Peace Like a River, just the first two verses.
Got peace like a river, I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river in my soul. I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river in my soul. I got joy like a fountain, I got joy like a fountain, I got joy like a fountain in my soul. I got joy like a fountain, I got joy like a fountain, I got joy like a fountain in my soul.
Go ahead and be seated. We're mixing things up today. We're going to do things in some different orders. Peace is such a big thing. It's such a big topic. And we often think about peace as a big, huge bubble. That is world peace. Well, if we know anything about ourselves, or if we're listening to Lao Tzu, we know that that begins with us. So our order of service is going to work from us out into the world. So we're actually going to move our meditation up to the beginning of worship. That way we can spend a little time with ourselves, finding our center and finding the way that we can find peace in our moment. We tried various forms of meditation throughout Peace Camp, and some of them, laughing meditation, was a colossal failure, which was surprising to me. But even more surprising to me is the forms of meditation that were the most successful. Forms of meditation that kids were so excited about that when they would get there in the morning, they would ask to meditate. And I was like, oh, cool, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, we can do that some more. That was bubble meditation, which is what we're going to do right now. So you each have bubbles, a little personal bottle of bubbles for you to use now or for you to take with you into the world to use later. We also have some little bubble machines that we can use. So as we begin, before we start with the bubbles, you start your bubbles, okay? That's fine. Enjoy your experience. We're going to take a few deep breaths, a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Thanks to Tracy Joe, who came and did yoga with our kids, one of the invitations we used throughout the week into meditation was the flower and the candle. Smell your flower, blow out your candle. We did this over and over. It allowed the kids to get a little loud and then to get a little quiet, but it is a way to just remind us of breath, right? Take a breath in, take a breath out. Now, as the bubbles start to be blown, so if you are comfortable blowing your bubbles, go ahead and do that. I really want you to hone all of your senses. As you blow the bubble, look at the bubbles. Pay attention to a single bubble that is blown. Watch that bubble from the time it's formed until the time it pops. Let yourself fully focus on that bubble. For those bubbles that pop near you, if you listen carefully and quietly, you might even be able to hear that bubble, how it is in the world, and when it pops. If bubbles are near you, they might land on your body. How does that feel? Oh. I'm getting nervous here. All right. Now, just as we let the last few of our bubbles sort of find their way into the world and then out, bubbles are a now. Blowing a bubble, popping bubbles, watching bubbles is a complete experience of now. So I hope that you will bring your bubbles into the world. And if you need a moment of levity or focus or calm, that you might smell a rose, blow out a candle, and give your full attention to a bubble. We, as Unitarian Universalists, are used to having covenants. We make covenants, we say them out loud. We here at Heritage say a covenant every time that we are in church. Covenants are a way in which we make agreements with one another and with God, a way that we can choose how we want to be with one another and about how we will express our values in our human and other relations. Instead of using our usual covenant, though, I want to invite you into a covenant-making activity. Covenants are really about how the promises we feel like we can make to one another for how we'll be together. And so I want to open our conversation up to all of you. What do you think is essential in a covenant for a community like ours? What do you think must be there for you to participate fully in this experience? So Libby has a mic. If you'll raise your hand and would like to share a potential item in a covenant you would like, raise your hand and speak that promise into the microphone.
I think it needs to be realistic.
Be realistic, yes. Other promises.
Respectful for all.
Others?
Love-based, not judgment-based.
Thank you. Others?
I'm going to bring these people tomorrow.
Yes. So everyone gets to be included, everyone and everything. Others here?
To really listen to other people when you're talking with them and focus on them.
Yes. Thank you for that. Do we have any in the chat? Any others here in the sanctuary? Okay. Now you see up above you here the Peace Camp covenant that our campers made with each other. And so we're going to do this responsively. I'm going to ask you if you can covenant to do these things, each of these things individually. And if you can, please say yes out loud. Once we made the covenant, the kids generated these covenants. We discussed them. We discussed if they felt capable of doing these things. And then we asked them to verbally and in writing pledge that they could do them. So this is a product of their work together. Can you covenant to have fun? Yes. Can you covenant to be kind? Yes. Can you covenant to come to consensus on choices? Yes. Can you covenant to listen? Yes. Can you covenant to invite others over and in? Yes. Can you covenant to take time to be calm? Yes. Can you covenant to give space so we can be together? Yes. Can you covenant to work through ours and others' feelings? Yes. Can you covenant to accept differences? Yes. Can you covenant to help when people are hurt? Yes. Can you covenant to not speak over people? Yes. With that, let us turn from ourselves into our broader community. We're going to sing verses 3, 4, and 5 of Peace Like a River, and then we will turn to Candles of Community.
So I don't know if you felt it, but I felt the presence of love and connection as we came out of kind of sharing about our covenant and making the promise that the Peace Campers had created. A lot of action about, or emotion connected to having fun, which leads us to joy and sorrow. So that presence continues to embrace us as we move into our weekly community ritual, Candles of Community. This is a sacred time when we reach out to each other to share the lightness of our joys and the heaviness of our sorrows within the peaceful atmosphere that supports us all. So in a moment, I'll share the candle requests which were emailed prior to the service. The chat is open, and I will read your joys and sorrows that are typed into the chat once everyone in the sanctuary has had a chance to share theirs. So we had one sorrow that was submitted prior to the service. Thank you for sharing today. We light a final candle to lift up all of the joys and sorrows we hold silently in our hearts.
Now is the time that we take to collect an offering for an organization. Today's organization is the Inter-Community Justice and Peace Center. This organization educates and advocates for peace, challenges unjust local, national and global systems, and promotes the creation of a nonviolent society. IJPC is supported by faith-based organizations and individuals who work together to educate around justice issues, take collaborative action, and do public witness. They address local, national, and international concerns, focusing on the death penalty, immigration, human trafficking, and peace and nonviolence. Thank you. And now we will have a reading, I Am Peace by Susan Verde, and illustrated by Peter Reynolds. So if you would like to come up to the front, I'll read it. You can use that mic. Read it up here? Okay. Okay. The thoughts in my head are like rushing water, and I feel like a boat with no anchor. There are times when I worry about what might happen next and what happened before. I give myself a moment, I take a breath, and then I tell myself, it's all right. Being carried away. I feel the ground beneath my feet and steady myself, and start to notice the here and the now. I can watch my worries gently pop and disappear. I let things go. I can say what I feel inside, out loud. I know myself. My thoughts begin to settle. My mind begins to clear. I am peace. I can share kindness with others. I make a difference. I can hug a tree and thank it for its beauty and strength. I connect to nature. I can feel my breath fill my whole body. I tune into me. I can watch the clouds make shapes against the sky. I know wonder. Now the water is still. I have found my anchor and everything is all right. I don't need to worry about before or after. I am in this moment. I am peace. I can taste and smell and touch and hear and see what is all around me. I use my senses. Now I share my peace with others. and hope that is carried away to those who need it. And I dream we are peace.
I would like for you to think of something that grows. Anything, really. Something that starts off small and gets much larger. We can think of things right off the top of our heads, maybe. Seeds of various kinds, pieces of art. There are a great many things that grow in the world. So I want you to keep that thing in mind, the tiny thing that it starts off as. And as we have a time of reflection now and through the rest of our service, I want you to imagine that thing tended and cared for, loved and cherished, and see how it grows in your mind. This is what peace is like. It is a tiny thing. It is a very, very tiny thing at first. Now, I will admit that there was a time in my life when I was much younger where I would have said that my life's goal was to win a Nobel Peace Prize. I was a weird kid, I promise. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to win a Nobel Peace Prize. Now, in all honesty, you would not be dashing my hopes if you said, chances are I am not going to win a Nobel Peace Prize in my lifetime. When we think of peace, this big old peace, right? This big old world peace, it's hard to imagine that any one of us are going to create that in the world. And I look at the world and I'm desperate for it. I'm desperate for the kinds of big old peace that could change our world. I am desperate to see a lasting peace in Israel. I am desperate to see a place where we do not know war and where we do not see war proliferating. Those things are things that I am desperate for. But chances are, I am not going to be the creator of a lasting Middle East peace accord, as much as I might hope for that. So what is it that we can do? And how can we cultivate peace? Because I certainly do not believe in despair. We think of peace as the opposite of war. But peace is not the opposite of something, it is the presence of something. Peace is the presence of capacity and generosity. Peace is the presence of our own creativity and imagination. So when we really start to think about how do we cultivate peace, we begin not in that big old place and all the destruction we see, but we should start in a small place with this tiny thing. Pema Chodron, the sort of much acclaimed and well-written Buddhist nun, writes, if we want there to be peace in the world, we have to be brave enough to soften what is rigid in our hearts, to find the soft space and to stay with it. We have to have that kind of courage and take that kind of responsibility. That is the true practice of peace. So peace begins with each of us, with our own practices for how we love and care for ourselves, how we make a soft space in ourselves instead of a rigid one. And that peace, that first peace, it is the hardest to find, and it is the hardest to cultivate. And I appreciate that. For a great part of my life, in my 20s, I was so opposed to cultivating my own set of peace because it felt selfish to me. Caring for myself felt like an infinitely selfish thing to do. And I did not want to be selfish. It was certainly not what I valued or what I wanted. But in seminary and as I got older, and certainly now as a parent, I see that caring for myself is not a way of putting off others are my responsibilities in the world, but it is a way of ensuring that how I have relationships can show and cultivate peace. So when we do peace in ourselves, when we take a minute to blow bubbles and be completely in the now, even if we try some laughing meditation, I promise you, it's cool, it really is. That is a way that we start to find that soft space in us, and we nurture it. And we nurture that tiny seed that we're holding. We nurture the seed of peace, and it begins to grow. And then it grows into how we have relationships with one another. We might not all be Nobel Peace Prize winners, but we can be peacemakers in our own homes. We can take the peace we find on our own and in ourselves, and we can practice that peace in our homes. We all have homes and relationships and people that we are connected to, so we can each promote and cultivate peace every day. So at camp, that looked a couple of ways. We spent a lot of time at Peace Camp learning to navigate our conflicts with one another. There are many conflicts amongst ourselves. I could not tell you how many conflicts 5 young people could have with themselves in the course of a week. It is a much larger number than you even imagine. So how we take time to have conflict, how we speak with one another, and how we see each other, that is a way in which we cultivate peace. And how we learn to do that, it grows peace in ourselves and in each other. It helps us to see another person like ourselves, to value them, to see in them that seed that we are cultivating in ourselves. And it also means at camp, it means that we did things collaboratively and connected. It means we shared the work as a way of valuing one another, about saying that we will all eat together, we will cook together, we will bake together, and then we will clean together. That together part, that last part especially, the cleaning part, right? It's a way of saying that no person should have to shelter all of the hard stuff by themselves. No person is solely responsible for the icky part of cleaning. We all do that work together. That is a way in which we can cultivate peace in our homes. When it came to baking, we did some baking. It meant that some of the kids, we baked together the number 2 option that they had voted for. So it meant maybe you didn't get your number 1 cookie option when we were baking, but you certainly didn't get your very last cookie option. So in this way, when we make decisions, we make sure that everyone gets some of what they want, even if it's not the thing they want the most, but it ensures that no one gets the thing they want the least. That then starts to build community. It builds a community where we start to understand each other's needs, and that those options, that those ways of being, they cultivate peace in us. And this is maybe where it starts to get magical. We can all understand how the value of cultivating peace for ourselves, and maybe even the importance of cultivating peace in our relationships. But when we start to do that, when we start to do practices that make peace between ourselves, between 2 people or 4 people or 8 people, what we start to do then is cultivate peace in our community. We start to build communities that are based upon peace, where the bedrock for having and cultivating larger peace, larger trees and larger seed, that our tiny seed starts to grow. And it has the capacity to be something so much greater than just the thing we started off with. So when we cultivate peace in ourselves, we can create peaceful relationships. And then we can start to build peaceful communities. And the values of those communities become the bedrock for larger and lasting peace. I'm pretty sure that we didn't, at some point in time, solve any huge problems of the day. But I know that our campers learned how to be with each other, how to care for each other, and how to think about the world around them. That once they knew how they could be at peace with themselves and each other, they could turn their gaze outside. They could think about what it meant to build peace for our community. They could think about things that they valued, that they wanted to do and cultivate outside of themselves. Now, all of us, each of us, little by little doing that work of peace, that's what creates a world of peace. And that can change the landscape of our world. Not all at once, and certainly not in ways that are going to win anyone a Nobel Peace Prize, but in ways that can change the very way in which we are with each other in the communities and in the spaces that we navigate. This is the magic of peace. If we care for it in small ways or in medium ways, something large, something massive, something meta can happen. And that all starts with our tiny intentions, our little ways of thinking about ourselves and each other. So we begin where we are, at home, and in this room, and in this community. And maybe one day we'll do something massive. And that's the hope, right? That peace is also how we generate hope. You know, war creates despair. And when we think of being at war or being disconnected, that creates a sense of despair. When we look at the world around us, I often feel a sense of despair. And there's no easy way to fix those problems. When I listen to NPR, I think, well, Lord, how's that ever going to get fixed? That creates despair. But our practices of peace, they create hope and possibility, and they create something generative, and they create something lasting. So like our individual practices of peace help us to hold at bay the otherwise hard things. All right, so for the rest of our service today, we're actually going to do something together that helps to instill peace together. So I'm just going to give you a sort of preview of what's coming, and then we're going to sing, because singing, it's such a glorious way of being together, about finding our voice and our breath with another and with a larger community. So we're going to sing, and then we're going to have a moment to see a short video, which is the Stuffy play that was created by our campers to talk about their experience of camp. So you can see what they learned by way of a Stuffy video. And then we are going to bless this peace pole as one of our sort of last acts of worship. We're hoping to offer Peace Camp again next year. And so we have the kids from this year's camp have found a spot in our outdoor space where we're gonna plant this peace pole, and it will be there as a sort of testament to how we are cultivating peace, how those kids are cultivating peace, and how we as a community are cultivating peace. And then next year's campers will make another and another, and at some point we'll have a whole forest of peace poles that stand as a testament to how we are cultivating our peace together. So with that in mind, let's turn our attention to hymn 1023, which is, you don't have that hymnal, so the words are going to be up above you, and we're going to sing Building Bridges together. And then we'll jump right into the Stuffy play that you'll see on the screen.
And I'll sing through it one time. If you already know it, sing along with me. And then we'll sing it through twice as a congregation. It's a beautiful piece. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, could we make such sweet harmony? Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions,
Up first, we have the one and only Howler the Wolf. Next, we have the beautiful butterfly Applesauce. Now, we have the big dog. Up next, we have the Kung Fu Master. And last but not least, we have the giant panda. And today, all of our stuffies will be showing us different ways of peace. First up, we have the one and only Howler the Wolf, who will talk about collaboration and teamwork.
Hi, I'm Howard the Wolf. Today I will be talking about how you can work together. First up, in soccer, they work together by kicking the ball to other people and scoring a goal. Also, in football, they have to work together by making it fair and throwing it to different people. Also, in different stuff, they have to go hard even though they're friends. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Howler. Up next, we have Applesauce, who will be talking about cooking and how that is a form of peace in our family. What do you...
I thought you got cooking. I love cooking. Bishop amazing! Amazing!
Thank you so much, Applesauce. Great way. Cooking is a great way of peace. Up next, we have the big dog, who will talk about baking.
Baking is a way to work together to make good food, and you get to eat the food.
Thank you so much. Yes, working together is a great form of peace. Now, the Kung Fu Master will be talking about how to find peace with nature.
Hiking is a way of peace, and also finding lizards. Thank you, JP.
Thank you very much, Kung Fu Master. And lastly, we have the giant panda, who will tell us about bubble meditation.
Bubble meditation is fun because you get to look at the bubble. And sometimes they pop your leg, which is so fun when that happens. But if they land on your leg and they don't pop, then you can pop them.
Thank you very much, giant panda. Bubble meditation is a great way of peace. All right, now I would like to welcome all of our stuffies to the stage to sing Peace Like a River. Come on out.
Me?
Yes, everyone. Come on out, everyone.
No.
All right, are you ready to sing? We'll do them, okay? No, you gotta go sing. All right, 1, 2, 3. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my heart. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my heart. Yay! Great job! All right, now I would like to introduce everyone who is behind the stuffy play. First, we have
A video of them from the back. And the behind-the-scenes view is even more hilarious. I mean, I imagine any 5 of us trying to squeeze underneath a table and putting on a play would be a pretty funny experience, right? There were many collaborative things we did at Peace Camp. One of them was the creation of this peace pole. Libby is actually going to speak to us briefly about the process of creating this peace pole. But in anticipation of that, I want us to sort of take a moment and really become sort of present to this, in this space, and to each other, and to this gorgeous sort of testament of creating and creation of community. So just take a moment and bring your full awareness to our sanctuary, this sacred place, and this sacred peace pole. To breathe, to remember your breath. Often when we meditate, we close our eyes, but this morning I would like to invite you to keep your eyes open, to see this peace pole, to look at it, and then to use your ears and your hands, your heart, and notice the aliveness of your own body, whether or not you can hear your own heart or breath, if you can feel it, how you feel the people near you. Notice the aliveness that is around you and the aliveness in this sacred space. As our senses are awakened and as we become fully sort of present to this space and to each other, we can become fully present to the sort of sacredness of creation that happens in our midst. So Libby's going to talk to you a little bit about this. And after that, I'm going to ask you to come and join your own creativity to this poll. But first, just a few words from Libby.
It was started at Peace Camp, one of the last days. We had the kids paint on it. I will say it kind of, all of the paint ran into a big muddy mess. So I painted over that, but I took a lot of the colors and what they did and put that into the bottom half. I will also say I procrastinated this for like a month. So it was very rushed, but it came out very nice. I like it a lot. I tried to incorporate a lot of stuff that seemed peaceful, so yeah.
In addition to working on this poll, each of the kids created their own peace poll that they took home with them. So we have, at least in some way, their creation here, and that connects to the work that they've sort of done. I'm going to invite you to sort of now come forward, to come and make a line on the outside wall here. There are several options of washable finger paint available. If you'll put a finger or a thumb in of a color of your choice. There are vines on 2 sides that are they're there so that your fingerprints might create the leaves and the flowers. And so then we'll bless this after you come forward. We'll bless this together, and this will be installed in our sort of sacred spaces. Why don't we line up? And there are wipes here. Don't worry. Okay, it is just finger paint, so it will clean up if it gets on anything. And there are wipes here so that you can wipe off once you're done. Yes, you can use a pointer finger. You're okay.
That's fine. We have a solar flare.
you so much for everyone for joining in this act of creation that helps us to cultivate peace together. Now we're going to sing Peace Like a River just one more time, the 6th verse and then the 1st verse over again. And this time when we sing it, let's sing it with the intention of blessing. May our song and our shared breath be a blessing to this peace pole, and how we shower our blessings onto it.
If you'll all join us around the sanctuary in our traditional benediction circle. We can feel the peace and love that connects us all. May the Spirit of life, that each of us possesses, flow from one to the other. May it stay with us. And bring us peace and harmony. Until we meet again. Namaste.